crap! What is wrong with you?
Yeah, no kidding. You're the Dungeon Master for one game session, and you kill us all.
I can't believe you would kill Fat Cat. Look at her. She's just so adorable.
And don't you know that Gary the Intern is a fan favorite? I'm supposed to have plot armor.
Indeed. Who ever heard of monsters that are immune to fireball?
Listen, guys, I'm really sorry, but you're all dead now. So you need to stop being a bunch of big babies.
Big babies? I'll show you, big babies.
Yeah. Let me explain very carefully what you're going to do here. You see, we didn't all die.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we just all got knocked unconscious. And now we're gonna wake up in jail cells so we can play through an escape scenario.
Actually, that's not what happened at all. He explicitly said they cut our heads off.
Hey, be quiet, wizard. Look, Fat Cat is alive again.
Yeah, zip it. My next of kin death benefits don't cover hazardous conditions such as dungeon delving.
Well, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure that's how TPKs are supposed to work. I'm pretty sure you're all supposed to be dead now.
Nope, clearly not dead. I mean, look at us.
Yeah, who else is alive around here? I'm alive.
I'm alive. Meow.
Well, I'm dead, and I won't allow any of you to break the verisimilitude of this event for me, or ruin my immersive game experience.
Well, that's just too bad. Elminster himself raises you from the dead. Yeah.
Elminster isn't even a cleric, you idiot.
Welcome to the DM Lair. I'm Lucar, and I've been a Dungeon Master since high school. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. Today in the Lair, we're going to be talking about how to handle the aftermath of a TPK or a total party kill, where each and every one of your player's beloved characters bites the dust. You see, I've made a few videos about TPKs around here, and I even made one recently about why defeat, death, and TPKs are good for the game, link below. But I've never talked about what to actually do when one happens. So yeah, let's do that today. But first I want to remind you that my Kickstarter, Into the Fae, is only open for one more week. So if you haven't pledged to get this level 1 to 5 adventure module featuring tons of nasty new Fae creatures, magic items, and spells, time is running out. I have placed a link conveniently below where you can join all the cool kids and murder your players with the Fae. Okay, let's talk about TPKs, shall we? And the first thing I'd like to talk about is what a TPK is not. A TPK is not when the entire party legitimately wipes and would have died, but the Dungeon Master decides to save their PCs from the death they would have and should have experienced. Okay, folks, your characters didn't actually die. They were just captured, and now you all need to break out of jail. Okay, folks, your characters didn't actually die. They were just captured, and now your new characters need to rescue them. Okay, folks, your characters didn't actually die. They were just left for dead and looted. And now, when you wake up, you need to get your stuff back and take vengeance on the bad guys who were too stupid to realize that PCs are never quite dead even when it looks like it. Okay, folks, your characters did actually die, but now they're in the afterlife. And they need to find a way back to the world of the living. Ooh, little guy. Little guy. This is little guy. Say hi, little guy. What's going on? Where'd your collar go? I don't know. Put me down, put me down. Okay. I'm not rubbing your belly after the video's over, okay? You see, none of those scenarios are TPKs. Those are examples of the Dungeon Master sparing their group from an actual TPK. So where do I stand on this practice? There are only two situations in which I, as a Dungeon Master, would spare the characters from a TPK. First, I screwed up and unknowingly threw an encounter that was way too hard at my players. And I say unknowingly because sometimes I do it on purpose and I don't hold back. But in instances where it was unintended, then yeah, I usually scale back the encounter on the fly to save them. See my When You Anger the Big Bad video for an example of this. Second, when it actually makes sense for the bad guys not to kill them. Some foes won't just kill the characters outright, and I do my best to roleplay that accordingly. However, failing those two conditions, I do not save my players' bacon from TPKs. And you might be thinking to yourself right about now,
wow, you sound like a real jerk and must have lots of TPKs.
Yeah, going a little overboard on the stabby now, aren't we?
No, I've actually only had 3 TPKs, and all of the time I've been DMing 5th edition. And my memory sucks, so I can't really remember anything before then. Also, right about now, many of you are saying, Luke, get point, you still haven't told me what to do when a TPK happens. Yeah, I get that. But understand this, when I asked people online how they handled a TPK, the overwhelming majority of people responded with ways that they would spare the party from an actual TPK. So I felt like it was necessary to clarify what a TPK actually is. You know, when the characters actually die. Now that I've done that, let's talk about how to handle a TPK, about which I have 5 points to make. I'm surrounded by like 4 cats right now. They could eat me if they wanted to. Number 1, a TPK is not the end. The game goes on. Sometimes I get the impression that some folks think a TPK is a fail state of the game. That is, when a TPK happens, both the players and the dungeon master have lost, and the game is over. Nothing could be farther from the truth. Death and defeat and TPKs are just a part of the game. It is the natural order of things when you are role-playing a group of warriors who are frequently in combat with weapons that can kill each other. But when it happens, the game isn't over. The players didn't lose. The dungeon master didn't lose. You all just experienced one part of the game, a part that usually isn't experienced too often. So when it happens, the fine game of Dungeons and Dragons continues on. Your group doesn't disband. Instead, you keep on playing. Number 2, discuss the TPK with your players. Despite everything I've said thus far, the fact of the matter is that often a TPK doesn't sit well with the players or the dungeon master. There's a strong chance that folks might be riled up a bit and feelings might have been hurt. Which is why, by the way, many dungeon masters often don't follow through with the TPK. They're afraid of people getting upset. So when the TPK happens, have a debrief with your players. Discuss the situation leading up to the TPK and discuss why they think it happened. This is the moment to vent, to get those frustrations out. The players can explain their side of things and the dungeon master theirs. When my youngling group TPK'd recently, our conversation organically turned to this. In fact, my players, all teenagers at this point, discussed the mistakes they made that led to the TPK. They talked about how they weren't working together as a group enough. They talked about what they should have done instead, and then the conversation turned to the new characters they were going to make. And they were getting pretty excited. And no blame was laid at my feet, the DM's feet. Instead, this conversation was a bonding moment for the group, and I feel the group is better and the game also is better as a result. However, if blame had been laid, it would have been my opportunity to explain my point of view as the dungeon master. And at the end of the day, I definitely feel these sorts of honest and open conversations are good for everyone at the table. Number 3, ask the players what they want to do now.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that my bad guys killed you all, but what would you like to do now?
TPK'd by the idiot. Well, whatever. I'll be happy so long as I can keep on stabbing stuff.
Yeah, let's just roll up new characters and keep playing where we left off. I don't know. I wasn't really enjoying this campaign. Perhaps we can start a new one.
Yeah, Fat Cat would like to play in a campaign with greater food stores.
I'm okay with doing whatever leads to the best performance evaluation at the end of the year and my corresponding merit increase.
When my Sword Coast Guard group TPK'd a year or so ago, I simply asked my players if they were enjoying the current campaign or if they'd like to start a new one. I was good either way, so I'd leave it up to them. In fact, I've asked that question to my other 2 groups that have TPK'd in the last few years, and all of them have decided to keep running the same campaign where they left off. But if they would have wanted to start a new campaign, I probably would have been okay with that. It would have been an opportunity for me to create something different and have lots of fun doing it. And here's another thought. Maybe one of the players wants to try their hand at DMing for a bit. The aftermath of a TPK is as good a time as any for that, I feel. Or maybe the group would like to take a break from D&D and play another game. I mean, let's face it, many of us have tons of games sitting on our shelves that we have never played. Number 4, roll up new characters and continue where the campaign left off. Honestly, this is my preferred method of handling a TPK. The players roll up new characters at the same level as the old ones, and we just keep playing the game where it left off. When my Hand of Light group TPK, they rolled up new PCs and branded themselves Manus Invictus. In fact, if you want to hear the story of their TPK, see my video titled My First TPK, link below. Then the heroes of Manus Invictus heard about the old group's demise, decided to take up their mission, and went back to the crypts where they perished. And of course, we all know my players were secretly hoping to find all of the Hand of Light's cool magic items too. There are a multitude of ways you can pull this transition off, limited only by your own creativity. but here are a few. If you're running an Acquisitions Incorporated game, Home Office hears that the first franchise never returned from a mission, and then they put together a new band of recruits to continue the franchise in that area and pick up where the first group left off. If your players have followers or retainers, they could become the next generation of adventurers, and they might have a vested interest in carrying the torch forward, finding out what happened to their heroes, and getting vengeance. And maybe even finding all the cool magic items they had before they died. Or when your players roll up their new characters, ask them to include a tie to the previous group or one of its characters, perhaps even their own PC that died. Then their new characters have a role-playing reason built into them for continuing where the old party left off. Number 5, roll up new characters and start a new campaign. Now, when I start a new campaign, my preference is almost always to start it at level 1 and maybe level 3, and I have good reasons for that. However, for a new campaign after a TPK, I would probably give my players the option of starting at the same level as their characters that died. But Luke, someone is going to object, there's no penalty for death if you do that. To which I respond, dude, they just died. They just lost their characters that they might very well have been attached to. I think that's enough of a penalty. Thank you very much. And I also think that after playing the game for 2 years or whatever, and working hard to stay alive and level their characters up, I'd like to give my players the option of either starting from scratch or at the same level. However, other than making that decision, starting up a new campaign after a TPK is no different than any other new campaign. You're going to have a session 0, link below for a video on that. The DM is going to prep a campaign, your players are going to roll up new characters, and you're all going to start playing the game again. It's pretty straightforward. Don't forget to follow me over on Twitch for some chill live streams where you can ask me your D&D questions and make me do push-ups, dance, sing, and other fun stuff. Let me know how you handle TPKs in your game. Next week, we'll be discussing how to make homebrew content. But until then, click right here for the story of my first TPK ever. And until next time, let's play D&D.